Hey, pre-service teachers, new teachers, there is something powerful that happens when teachers finally get a space where they do not have to perform. And that is exactly what happened during the teacher hour that we hosted on May 14th. We gathered Black pre-service and new teachers together for something deeper than professional development. It wasn't another webinar. It wasn't another presentation where people talk to teachers and at teachers. It was honest conversation, it was reflection, it was community, and it was support. And there are a lot of new teachers out there that think that they are alone. And that matters because too many new teachers and pre-service teachers are silently struggling while trying to look like they have it all together. And what I wanted new teachers and pre-service teachers to understand during the teacher hour is this: struggling does not mean you are failing. Sometimes it means that you are carrying a job that required more support than you were ever given. And one of the things we focus on during the teacher hour for Black new teachers and pre-service teachers, we focus on three power tools. Not perfection, not worried about fixing everything overnight, foundational tools to help teachers reconnect with themselves and lead their classroom with more intention. The first power tool that we talked about was acknowledging yourself. Some people call it acknowledging yourself. I call it acknowledging yourself. Some people may call it taking care of yourself. Teachers are trained to constantly look outward. They're trained to look at student needs. They're trained to look outward at student data. They're trained to look outward at their lesson plans, at their evaluations when they're being observed, their emails, and student expectations. But rarely are teachers taught how to acknowledge themselves and treat themselves with kindness. And many teachers minimize their growth because they are so focused on what still needs to be done or what still feels difficult. So, how I describe acknowledging yourself is, what are you doing for you? What are you doing for you as a human, not for you as a teacher? Not what you are doing for you, for your family members, not what you're doing for your children, not what you're doing as a mother, not what you're doing as a wife or a husband, not what you're doing as a father, not what you're doing as an aunt or an uncle, or not what you're doing for your classroom. Is what you are doing for yourself. So during the teacher hour, we paused and reflected on what we do for ourselves. The second power tool we discussed was boundary setting. And this conversation hit home for a lot of our pre-service teachers and or new teachers during the teacher hour. Because many of new teachers believe that being a good teacher means always being available, and that's not true. Many new teachers believe that being a good teacher means always saying yes to everything, always overextending. We always have to carry more. But without boundaries, passion eventually turns into sacrifice. So teachers deserve to have lives outside of their classrooms, outside of their schools, and outside of survival mode. And one thing that I said during the teacher hour was this: being capable should not require carrying everything alone. Because many teachers, especially Black teachers or Black educators, have normalized over-functioning just to survive in environments that were never designed to support them anyway. And that is not sustainable. The third power tool we focused on was vision anchoring. And honestly, may have been the most emotional part of the teacher hour session. Because when teaching gets too heavy, it becomes very easy for teachers to disconnect from why they started. Teachers, they become consumed with a lot of things such as behavior management, the paperwork, the meetings, the stress, exhaustion, getting burned out, and eventually teachers stop hearing their own purpose underneath all of that noise. So we spend some time reconnecting the teachers back to their vision, not the version of teaching sold in textbooks, but their real reason, their impact, their purpose, the kind of educator that they still want to become, that they still strive to become. Because when the how becomes difficult, you have to reconnect to your why. One of the biggest takeaways from the teacher hour was realizing how many teachers are craving spaces where they can simply be honest. And when they're not judged, they're not evaluated, they're not trying to be fixed, just new teachers, pre-service teachers actually being supported and being listened to. And that is exactly why we are continuing to have these conversations during the teacher hour. So the teacher hour will continue. I'm Dr. Ebony, the new teacher coach. I'm founder of Education Empowerment. So yes, another teacher hour is coming. And if you are a Black pre-service teacher or a Black new teacher navigating your first years in the classroom, I want you to know that this space was built with you in mind. We, right here, we are building community, we are building support, we are building spaces where teachers feel seen before they're exhausted. And no, the teacher hour is not about pretending that teaching is easy because it's not. It's about making sure that our new teachers and our pre-service teachers are not navigating difficult systems alone. So, new teachers, if you have been looking for real support, real conversations, a real community, real coaching, and a community that understands the reality of this work, I want you to join us for our next The Teacher Hour. So make sure you subscribe, make sure you stay connected, and check out the description for some upcoming dates and some resources for the teacher hour.